Hey guys, and welcome to another video. Today, we are diving into Worlds in Conflict Soviet Assault, a real-time tactics game released in 2009 by Ubisoft and developed by the Swedish studio Massive Entertainment. Unlike most strategy games of its time, this one doesn't bother with base building or resource management. It throws you right into the chaos of war, where every unit you control feels like it has a story to tell. The game asks a chilling what-if question. What if, at the height of the Cold War, the Soviet Union launched a surprise invasion of the United States and Europe? That premise drives the entire campaign, and it's delivered not just through missions, but through a cinematic story full of human drama, loss, and friendships tested in the fire of war. This isn't just an RTS. It's a part strategy game, part war movie, and today we will revisit why World in Conflict Soviet Assault remains such a nostalgic gem, even more than a decade later. But before we kick off, grab a beer and let's go. Let's start with the story. The heart of World in Conflict lies in its single-player campaign. What sets it apart is the way it tells its story. Unlike many RTS games where you are simply commanding faceless armies, here every battle feels like it has weight. You are introduced to characters with personalities, flaws, and struggles, and their stories are woven directly into the missions you play. The game lets you see the war from both perspectives, switching between American and Soviet campaigns. But for many players, the American side is where the emotional punch really lands. The story begins with a devastating surprise. Soviet forces land on US soil, storming Seattle with airborne and amphibious troops. From the very first mission, you are thrust into the chaos of invasion. Helicopters buzz overhead, tanks crush through suburban streets, and civilians flee in panic. You are tasked with defending bridges, securing neighborhoods, and trying desperately to hold back waves of Soviet paratroopers. One of the most striking things about these early missions is how real they feel. You are not fighting in some distant desert or abstract battlefield. You are in American suburbs, on highways lined with burning cars, in industrial harbors under siege. It's unsettling because it imagines a war that could have happened on familiar soil. The campaign doesn't let up. After Seattle, you are pushed into desperate battles across Washington state. You fight to protect hydroelectric dams from sabotage, launch counterattacks to reclaim lost ground, and lead armored columns through forests and small towns. The missions are cinematic, often starting or ending with cutscenes that show the consequences of your actions, not just strategically, but personally. Later, the Americans regroup and begin taking the fight to Europe. Suddenly, the scale of the war widens. You are no longer defending your own homeland. You are working side by side with NATO allies in towns and countryside scared by war. One mission has you pushing through the French countryside, liberating villages with NATO support. Another places you in tense urban battles, where tanks roll through narrow streets and artillery fire turns city blocks into rubble. These European missions emphasize cooperation. You are not just fighting with American units, but coordinating with French, German, and other NATO forces. It makes the campaign feel international, highlighting the idea that this is not just America's fight, but the world's. If we move to the human side of the war, what really elevates the story, though, are the characters. World in Conflict doesn't treat soldiers like chess pieces. It reminds you that they are people with lives beyond the battlefield. Take Captain Bannon, for example. Even though he sacrifices himself at the end, his arrogance in the beginning and reckless decisions lead to tragedy and the death of innocents. His story is one of guilt and collapse, showing how even the men giving orders are haunted by their mistakes. Then, there is Captain Malashchenko on the Soviet side, who suffers deeply after losing his family. His grief drives many of his actions, and while you may be fighting against him, the game makes you understand his pain, at least sometimes, for some moments. The friendship between Mike and Anton is another emotional thread. Two men that remain friends from the very first mission to the last one, bonded by a connection that war can't entirely destroy. These moments remind you that strategy games don't have to be cold or detached. Here, you are not just moving units, you are watching a human story unfold. Let's move to graphics and presentation. For 2009, World in Conflict looked stunning, and even today it holds up surprisingly well. Vehicles are modeled in detail, from M1 Abrams tanks to Apache helicopters to Soviet heavy armor and artillery. Explosions are spectacular, with the smoke, debris, and fire reacting dynamically to the kind of weapon used. What made it revolutionary at the time was the fully destructible environment. Bridges, houses, forests, entire city blocks, everything could be reduced to rubble. This wasn't just a gimmick. It affected your tactics. Leveling a forest might expose enemy infantry, but it also removed your own cover. Destroying bridges could stop enemy armor, but it could also limit your own reinforcements. It gave the battlefield a sense of realism and unpredictability. The camera system also deserves mention. You could zoom out for a tactical view, then smoothly zoom all the way down to ground level, giving you a cinematic, almost documentary-like angle on the fighting. It often felt like you weren't just playing a game, you were directing a war movie. If we move to the gameplay in World in Conflict is streamlined but deep. Instead of building bases and gathering resources, you are given reinforcement points to call in units. You can deploy infantry, armor, helicopters, and support units directly into the field, and you can always adapt your forces to the situation. Each unit comes with special abilities. Infantry can dig in with anti-tank weapons. Tanks can fire high-powered shells. Helicopters can launch missile strikes. And artillery can devastate entire city blocks. Using these abilities at the right time is often the key to victory. The game rewards combined arms tactics. Tanks are powerful but vulnerable to helicopters. Infantry can hold ground but are exposed in the open. Air units are deadly but need protection from anti-air. Success comes from mixing units, using terrain wisely, and coordinating with allied forces on the map. Because of the destructible environment, no two battles feel exactly the same. That house you used for cover in the last mission, it might be rubble now. That bridge you relied on, gone. The battlefield constantly evolves, keeping you on your toes. If you talk about the nostalgic factor, why does World in Conflict still deserve attention today? Because it offered something rare, a strategy game with both explosive action and genuine emotional depth. It didn't just challenge you tactically, it made you care about the people involved. The campaign's mix of desperate defenses, international cooperation, and personal stories makes it more than just another RTS. It's a reminder that behind every order and every explosion are human beings. Many games since have tried to combine narrative and strategy, but few have matched the cinematic emotional impact of World in Conflict. If you want to play it today, and if you are interested in experiencing this classic game, there is one important thing to know. On modern systems like Windows 10 or 11, the game won't run properly without a small fix. You will need a GT16 patch. Don't worry, I'll leave the direct link in the description along with a simple guide on how to install it. Also, the game is no longer available on Steam or Epic, but you can grab it from GOG.com. Right now it's on sale for just €2.49 at 75% off, a bargain for a game this memorable. So that's World in Conflict Soviet Assault, a tactical masterpiece that blends thrilling gameplay with cinematic storytelling, and one that remains just as gripping today as it was back in 2009. If you have played it before, I'd love to hear your memories in the comments. What mission stuck with you the most? And if you haven't played it yet, now's your chance. Before I go, remember, most of the views and likes come from people who aren't subscribed. So if you enjoy this video, please hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps me out and keeps me motivated to bring you more nostalgia-driven content like this. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next one.